Okay, so the session is recording right now. And the purpose of today's webinar is to give you some insight into what's new on the module suite, our latest and greatest release, the 2.4. Then we'll go into a demo of what's new. Then we'll showcase, or better yet, we'll chat a little bit about the roadmap, the future roadmap, and obviously we'll leave some time at the end for Q&A. Now I see that there's a fair amount of people that are already Answer Module customers, partners, fair amount of solution consultants, sales from OpenText, but we also see a fair amount of people that we hadn't had the pleasure of chatting with yet. So I hope this also provides a good, very brief intro demo to our solutions. So the way we've structured this for today, as I mentioned, is quick introduction on the positioning, on the packaging, or better yet, what's inside Module Suite, what's new in version 2.4, then we'll go to a demo, the roadmap, and at the end, the Q&A session. So, as most of you know, the way we position the Module Suite is the smartest way of delivering tailored processes and applications on Content Suite. So this is how we position, and this is how we always talk about the Module Suite, but how did we get to this positioning? So what's behind that? Well, we can take a step back, and I think, okay, sorry, I think I was obscuring part of the screen. Anyways, I was saying, well, a way that we can discuss the positioning is really take a step back and see why we've created the Module Suite. And essentially what we saw was that there are some very common challenges that pretty much all Content Suite customers were facing. So essentially, they wanted to do more with their Content Suite platform. They saw the potential that was there. They wanted to use it more than a content repository. They actually wanted to do processes and applications on top of that platform. So once customers started building on Content Suite, they soon realized that they needed tools that allowed them to take a very agile and very low-coding approach to developing these solutions on Content Suite, essentially really facilitating and speeding up the development process. But at the same time, they also wanted to provide much more ergonomic, good-looking, intuitive applications to their end users. So that is do more, be faster, and better experience. Now, another way of summarizing this challenge, or better yet, summarizing what the Module Suite is all about, it's can be summarized as do more on Content Suite with less effort and add more value. So this is what the Module Suite is all about, and this is our focus for the future as well. This is the direction the Module Suite will continue taking. In terms of the Module Suite, again, most of you know that it is a toolbox, so different tools within this add-on module for Content Suite. However, just for those that are new to it, just a very, very quick recap of what's inside, or as I like to say, what's inside the box. So we have beautiful web forms, which is enhancement to the standard form framework, and this is what allows for customers to quickly and easily create forms, as well as form-based applications on Content Suite. Part of beautiful web forms, which we'll be seeing in the demo as well, is our visual form builder. Then we have Content Script. This is the bread and butter, the heart and soul of the Module Suite, and this is the first and only genuine scripting engine dedicated to Content Suite. And this is what allows for very rapid, quick, easy, very powerful development on top of the Content Suite platform. And finally, we have our standalone runtime environment for the Module Suite called Script Console. Now, within Module Suite, we also have some extensions and some integrations. So currently, we have 3 integrations for the classic UI, for workflows, and for web reports. And with the new extensions, for Extended CM, S3 by Amazon Web Services, Blazon, and Zip, we're up to 22 extensions. Now, we also have some add-on solutions, some add-on modules that live outside of, or better yet, commercially, they live outside of the core package. And this is the Docusign connector. And the purpose of this connector is to really streamline and facilitate the integration between Content Suite and the Docusign signature platform. We're going to be marketing this a lot more in the upcoming months, new web page, etc. And it's also been added to the official OpenText price list very, very recently as well. And then we have the extension, the integration for the Smart UI. Now these two, they are separate, they're add-on modules, so commercially they are separate products. So what is actually inside version 2.4? So this is what we're all here for today. Now, a lot of what's been created and added into this new version was driven by customer feedback, driven by the feedback that we receive from the community. Now, not all the functionality, not all the updates are on the screen. I just want to point out the key points at this stage. Now, the main focus for this new version was improving performance, revising the form builder, and working and adding on the extension packages. So in terms of performance, hard facts in hand, after internal benchmarks, testing, etc., we saw that the overall performance of the module suite, we were able to boost it by up to 30%. Sorry, by over 30%. And this is an actual tangible result even from the end user when they're using the applications, the processes built with the module suite. From the form perspective, one of, I guess, the main objective of the R&D team was to make creating forms with our tools even easier. So for this reason, they went ahead and did some revision to the form builder to make it a lot more intuitive to learn and also easier to use once you've actually learned the tool. We've continued to add functionality in regards to form as well. So we've added some new widgets, and we've also introduced the concept of layout. Now, to summarize it very briefly, concept layout is the possibility of having widgets that contain additional widgets as well. In terms of the extension packages, I touched on this earlier in the previous slide. So the one that I'm the biggest fan of is definitely the extension package for extended DCM. And so what this allows to do is to really facilitate and streamline, make things a lot easier when we're talking about creating and administering connected workspaces. And the reason that we're able to do this is because we can go ahead and programmatically create and administer new connected workspaces. Then, by popular demand, we've added the extension package for Blazon, which essentially allows you to manage renditions on Blazon, again, in a very programmatic way. The Office Documents extension, this isn't new, but we did do some enhancements to this. We've done enhancement for both Word and Excel files. For example, in Word, we can go ahead and merge Word documents. And then finally, we have the extension package for S3 by Amazon Web Services. Now, I went a little bit quickly, as usual, but I wanted to leave more time to the actual demo. So on that note, let me hand things off to Patrick. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Hi, everybody. So my demo will be quite an overview over what we have new in the new Model Suite 2.4. So starting from the most obvious thing, so the form builder, so the tool that you utilize for creating forms. So the form builder was quite a powerful solution and allows you to create forms very quickly. So what we try to do is to simplify the way forms are created and to introduce new widgets in order to improve also the way forms can be utilized. So first thing, the forms you are going to create with Model Suite 2.4 are absolutely compatible with what you already have. So coming from previous version of Model Suite, you won't have to rewrite anything. whenever you will create new forms, you will be able to leverage the new functionalities. And if you want, there is a tool available that allows you to seamlessly upgrade forms created with the previous version with forms that can be edited with the new version of the library. So what we have reviewed is basically the way the form builder works. So in order to simplify the most common tasks. So this is the new form builder. And first thing, as you can see, we basically reduced the amount of space utilized by. I'm sorry. Questo poteva essere noioso, in effetti. Okay, sorry for that. So saying this is the new form builder, and as you can see, first thing, we have reduced the amount of space utilized by the form in order to provide you a better understanding of what's going on while you are creating the form. And the number of widgets has been significantly increased, so we have now more than 130 widgets you can use to create your form, and we have introduced the concept of layout. One very important feature that we have introduced in the new builder is the possibility to toggle the preview immediately. So directly from the builder, you can have an idea of the form, the final form, even before having created the form actually. So this is just basically a render of the view created on the fly by the system to let me understand if what I'm creating is fine or should be reworked. As far as the view templates, we have introduced some new view templates. So leveraging the effort that OpenText put in the new version of the classic UI, we also revised our classic UI template. So we have now a new classic UI template that allows us to create forms that looks great whenever integrated with the classic UI. Obviously, a great focus was spent on the new Smart UI, and so we have also layouts that allows you to create forms that are compatible and looks great also on the Smart UI. Some of the most common activities, as I told you, have been greatly simplified. So for example, if I want to reduce the amount of space utilized by a widget, I can now just reduce its dimension or resize it, both the dimension of the widget and the dimension of the label utilized by the widget. If I want to change any label or text displayed in the form, I can just click on it and change it, okay, as is this. And the change is automatically saved. If I are not really happy with what I've done, I can open the configuration panel, which is now organized into tabs in order to simplify the usage of it. And I can revert changes that I applied on my widget, okay? So I can reduce the space, I can roll back any changes that I applied on the widget. Widget can be easily cloned, can be deleted. So we have basically redesigned the way the panel works, so the configuration panel work. And we also have introduced some interesting advanced customization possibility. The most notable is the data attributes. So you can basically specify the action that the widget should trigger on the basis of a particular event whenever, for example, the value of the widget changes. So you can basically trigger an action just putting a value here. And whenever the attribute or the content of the widget changes, automatically the widget is going to trigger the action. Another important aspect is related with, again, the configuration, which has now been reorganized and simplified. And so that is much easier to be managed and to understand what's the purpose of each configuration property. As I told you, we have introduced a set of new widgets, and a lot of them are basically related with the way the views can be organized and the way that subviews can be organized. So for example, if I want now to create a subview here, I can just drag the subview component, and as you can see, the subview component allows me to create a subview on the fly. So I can specify the view of the name of the new subview that I want to create. I can even ask the system to clone the current view in the subview so that I can automatically create a new view and go there and modify it. So if we have a look on the form and what the form can be utilized for in this case, so what I've created, let me switch the layout. So what I can do is change the layout, look and feel. So what this form allows me to do is to leverage the new extended ECM package in order to create new connected workspaces. So it works. Okay. And so what I can do here is to specify, for example, the contact owner. So given a set of connected workspaces related, for example, to accounts. So having in these connected workspaces contacts folder a set of connected workspaces, each of them having a category named contact here, I can, from my form, easily create new contacts to be stored in that space. So through the form, I can basically specify a contact owner for each one of them and just a test and last name my test, for example, and an email value here, which is obviously still validated. So I can specify test at test.com and I can create another row. So for example, just test2, my test2, and test.com, and hitting the create button and triggering the action, which is leveraging the new extended ECM API and basically created for me the two new connected workspaces. So I have connected workspaces based on a template, and I was able to create two new connected workspaces as is this. So if you look at the custom action button, the configuration is pretty easy actually. So it's basically getting the workspace, the path in which you want to create the workspaces, and then asks the system to create a workspace in that space, giving the name of the template you want to use, a name for the connected workspaces in case the connected workspace name is not determined automatically, a description, so the comment of your connected workspace, and a mapping for the value of the attribute for any category you have attached in the connected workspace. So basically what I'm passing here is a map in which I say for the contact category, for these attributes, I'm going to utilize the information that I'm passing in the form, okay? So basically 12 lines of code, and I was able to create a non-determined number of connected workspaces directly from my form. So obviously I'm not super satisfied by the layout, so the layout is pretty strange, so I have to scroll down to look at what I'm doing, etc. So what I can do is to leverage the new layout functionality of Module Suite 2.4. So I can drop a layout component in my view. I can move it on the top, and I can start reorganizing my view in that layout. So basically, moving the objects in that layout allows me to reorganize my view in the way I want. So for example, I can add a new exit button. I can add the create button here. And I can, for example, decide to reduce the amount of space utilized by these buttons, labels, as well as putting the labels on top for these two widgets. And I can remove these two and just put this space widget on the side. I can save it, and I can just review what I'm doing. Looks much better. So I can keep working on it if I need. So I can, for example, assign more space to my layout and reduce the amount of space utilized by the widget. And if I load my form, as you can see, you have now the possibility to create very complex layout. How complex the layout can be? Well, this is something that you can create with the new form builder. So basically, this is a form displayed in the new Smart UI. And what we basically created was a simplified version of a user page in which we are displaying the content of this page on the Smart UI together with some information. So, for example, the dates in which you can ask me for a meeting, and some information related with my pending tasks, other information related with the system. And everything here was created with the new form builder and organized with the new form builder, leveraging the new layout functionality. So as you've seen, the usage of the new extended ECM API is very simple. The new API allows it to manage roles, creation of workspaces, and applying changes to existing workspaces to modify the existing workspaces and to adapt them to your needs. An example of what you can do working with this functionality is, for example, combining the API for Excel with the API for the workspaces. So given an Excel file, for example, like this one, in which we have some information related with connected workspaces and we might want to create, we can write a script that automatically creates a set of connected workspaces out of the information stored in this Excel file. So basically, we have here an Excel file that defines the type of connected workspaces we want to create, some information related with the category that is associated to the connected workspace. So we have a category in which we can specify the account, the product, the amount, stage, and the closing date. Two users identified by email, which will be associated to different connected workspaces roles. Some information that will be tracked as part of the comments and description associated with the connected workspaces, and even a logo that we can automatically fetch from the internet to be used in the connected workspaces perspective. So the only thing I had to do in order to create all these workspaces is to drop this Excel file into this folder. And what the system is automatically doing is reading the information from the Excel using the new API to create the workspaces, assigning the categories to that workspaces, assigning the users to the different roles defined in the workspaces, and fetching the logo directly from the internet, assign the logo on the newly created workspaces. It'll take a while because fetching the logo from internet is not probably the best thing you can do, but that's just an example. So here we have 23 different workspaces created, and if we look at them, you can see that for each one of them, for example, this one, we have the logo automatically fetched from the internet. We have the users assigned to the team, and we have a predefined structure that is defined in the connected workspace template. And obviously, the information was tracked part of the categories associated with the workspace. So we have the external ID, the account name, etc., etc., etc. Given that API, we also have the opportunity now to manage changes applied on the connected workspace. So say that on the connected workspace, I go here and, for example, I delete this folder, which is actually present in the template that I've used to create these connected workspaces. So what we can easily do is to create a very simple script that looks on every connected workspaces you have created and compares the information related with the roles and content against the template you have used to create it and check for differences. So in this case, what we have here is we are missing 3 different items that are actually present in the template that they have used to create a connected workspace. So what I'm going to do is to ask the system to copy this item over and to resynchronize the connected workspace instance with the template that we have used to create it. And this automatically will synchronize it back that information. And the things works on both directions. So if I go on my document templates and I look on the, for example, the opportunity licenses here, and I rename this folder, saying that is EULA, and updated it, I can rerun my script, and I will probably be able to see that all the workspaces are now have a problem. And what I can do is go over a set of workspaces and saying, for example, what I want to do. In this case, I want to map the EULA folder that has been renamed to an existing folder that is actually present on the connected workspaces. Synchronize it. And this will automatically synchronize the related workspaces on the new functional, on the new structure. So if I go, for example, in 46, I can see the latest modified. What's this one, for example? I can see that the EULA folder, EULA and agreements, has been renamed automatically to EULA. And obviously, I can apply the same things to the same kind of changes to the other information. So, for example, roles associated with the connected workspaces, permissions, and whatsoever. This script, this is not a tool actually. This is a script that we basically created in a matter of hours just to test the new API that we have available, so that in order to see what we can do and what this can be utilized for. To put everything together and to give an idea of what is now possible. So the main reason, go back on the form builder. So the main reason we revised the entire set of widgets and we redefined the way the layout can be organized is that most of the widgets now will work out of the box with the new content server Smart UI, meaning that you can create tiles that will be part of your perspective in the Smart UI, just publishing a form. So as in this case, we have a dashboard here created on the Smart UI for this folder CRM, in which we are displaying the content of 3 different forms. So this is a form, this is a form, and also this is one is a form. So we can basically create dashboard, both for presenting information, as in this case, and both for collecting information, as in this case, utilizing our form builder. And this is a great thing because will be very easy for you to customize the way the information is presented. So if I can, for example, go into this folder and I go on the classic UI, so say that I can go back here to the CRM and the Smart UI dashboard application and forms, and for example list potential, so views. I can see the funnel, the main status, so I can open the form builder on the main, and I can see that I have the different views organized. For example, we have the different status view. Each one of them is displaying some information, so I can, for example, just invert the position of this subview with this other, and this will be automatically reflected on the start going on qualification. Okay, inverted the positions. And the same thing goes for the other forms. So I've discussed briefly the subview. So this is an example. So given a subview on a form builder, I can enter this, the subview editor automatically, and this will open the new subview editor. So I can change anything on the subview. And when I've done, I can go back on the previous view that I was editing and keep working with the previous view. So this simple application allows me to showcase what you can do combining the new forms with the new APIs. So given a set of connected workspaces that are related to each other, so accounts, contacts, products, and potentials, what we can do is to create a new hierarchy of connected workspaces very easily. So I can create a new potential which will be associated to an existing account or a new one, and I can associate it automatically to the contacts, etc. So let's do it. So say that I'm creating a AnswerModules consulting services, and I specify a closing date. As you can see, for example, the widgets for the new date picker allows me to specify a date before which you can't select any value. So this is limited from today on. So I can pick up date here, defining a stage, say negotiation, defining an amount. Amount is formatted. I can assign myself as potential owner. I can search for the account. So will be associated, for example, to Answer Consulting. And since I've selected an account, the contacts will be automatically filtered. I can pick up an existing contact, or I can automatically on the fly register a new one. So I'm creating a new connected workspace on the fly, say, and and I can specify a phone number. And I can automatically, the information from the accounting address has been moved to the contact, and I can copy over from the mailing to the other addresses information, and I can just ask the system to create the new workspace. So the new connected workspace has been created right now and has already been linked with the form, so I can just utilize it. And so what I can do now is to go ahead and register this new potential, and this will create basically the new connected workspaces, keeping everything linked with what I've selected. So what I can do now is to go on my negotiation and see that there's a new opportunity register here. So I can go on the accounting, so on the associated account, I can review the associated contacts. I can see that I've created a new Barbieri Gino with the information is available, and I can review the opportunity that was just created. So I can go on my newly created opportunity, and I can see that we have the associated content, the associated account, etc. What we can also do is go on the quotation, for example, and once again, we have a form that is utilized within the Smart UI to create part of the UI, and another Smart UI widget that we can use to present information in a more tailored way. So what we can do from here is to basically create new offer documents for our customer, and I can select, for example, a product from our list. This widget will be automatically perform some computation on my behalf. So we'll automatically assign, for example, I can assign discount, and all this computation will be automatically performed by the system. I can review terms and conditions that I want to create, and I can create a new Word document on the fly based on my my submission. Okay. So what I can do now is to edit this document, and this will open my Word document editor. And basically, we have the information from the accounting available, the information from the contact available, so the contact name, and we have the information related with the quotation number, the validity specified, the product that we have selected, terms and conditions that we have entered, and the final page. The new API that allows us to manipulate Word documents allows us now also to merge different Word documents together. So what I can do is to create a second offer, say again, 100 licenses of Model Suite, for example. And this time I will attach our standard commercial terms to that API, to that document. So I can create now the second document. And this time, instead of opening directly, I will push it on the Docusign, leveraging the Modules Suite Docusign integration. So basically, I'm starting a workflow that will send this document on Docusign for signature, asking a first internal user to sign the quotation first. And so this is basically creating the document, pushing the document on Docusign, and is going to redirect me on the page from where I came. And I have the quotation. So given the quotation, given that we have already started the Docusign workflow, the system now recognizes that workflow is already running and redirect us on the Docusign platform, where, as you can see, I can perform the signing of the workflow. I can review the terms that were merged with the original Word document all together. So I can perform my task here, and I can be redirected on the previous page. With it is everything that I want to show you today. The very last thing that I want to discuss with you is the changes that we applied on the content script editor. So content script editor also have been revised. So what you can do from the content script editor now is, for example, you can change the way the editor is displayed. Another interesting aspect here is that you can review a previous version of the script that you're editing and see what changed from one version to another, and decide if you want to roll back some pieces of it, for example, from the previous version, and save it as a new version.
Okay, thanks for that, Patrick. Let me just take back control. Let me share my screen once again. Okay, and okay. So before we jump into the Q&A, obviously, please feel free to leave your questions. We'll get to them very shortly. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I just want to give a quick insight into what the future holds for the module suite. And on the roadmap, and this is probably the biggest, let's say, announcement that we have at the moment, is cognitive forms. So we announced this back a little bit before Enterprise World this year, but now we also have a date for when we want to release the cognitive forms. And essentially what cognitive forms are is, the way that we see it, is the most natural way of interacting with Content Suite. So what customers will be able to do with cognitive forms is utilize the tools that you're accustomed to, so the tools within Module Suite, to create web forms that can function as a chatbot, kind of like what we're seeing on in the video on the right-hand portion of the screen. So there'll be different ways of interacting with these chatbots, obviously through text, but also through voice, and there'll also be let's say, multiple channels of interacting with these chatbots. So we could, what we're thinking of at the moment is obviously Skype, Cortana, etc. We'll also see if there's any new ones down the road. And just two very quick sample scenarios, like I just mentioned earlier, is what you're seeing on the right. So a chatbot embedded into the Smart UI that's actually functioning as a contextual AI. So I can ask questions, I can request documents, etc., but it's only going to provide me information that's contextualized to that specific scenario. Or we can also go ahead and utilize a chatbot to participate in a workflow. So again, a new way, an easier, more natural way of interacting with Content Suite. So on that end, I just want to hand things off to the guys for Q&A. In the meantime, I'll leave my screen in case there's any further questions you'd like to have down the line. Okay. So for the Q&A, what we'll do is we'll answer them live, obviously. I'll read them and then Patrick can answer them in depth. So first and foremost, the new meeting facility, with what is it integrated? I presume this is related to the form that we saw at the very the beginning, Patrick, the HR form. MS Outlook calendar or Gmail? What do you need to create such an integration?
So that actually was just an example of the kind of form you can create and the kind of layouts you can create. In that case, information with the calendar was stored on the system, but yeah, that can be integrated with both Outlook and Gmail. And a small development will be required because, as you might know, Model Suite can be extended quite easily in order to leverage external libraries. And there is external libraries that allows you to consume and to access information both from the Outlook for Exchange, basically, or from the Gmail. So a custom development will be required, but it is definitely possible. So this is some information that you can definitely integrate with the UI.
Thanks for that. Now, the next question, or the next two questions, are related to connected workspaces. So can you use scripts for updating permissions? And can you use scripts to modifying or create new folders?
Yeah, the idea is exactly that. So the idea is being able to leverage the new APIs in order to apply changes directly on existing connected workspaces. So far we haven't any script that is already basically doing all this stuff. We have the APIs, and in the example that I've shown you, I've created very quickly a script that was just synchronizing roles and folder structure from the template to the instances of the connected workspaces. So there's no much work to require in order to create a more, let me say, generic tool that allows you to keep synchronize your template with your connected workspaces, or to create a tool that allows you to apply changes, bulk changes on existing connected workspaces instances.
Okay. And the next is essentially a three-part question. So with our widgets, can you do the following? TKLS on forms/categories with multiple columns. Let's go one by one at this point. Patrick?
Yeah, well, I can see the other topics. Yeah, basically everything that you mentioned is feasible with the form builder. So TKLA, so table key lookups is something that you can manage in the beautiful web forms in various ways. So you can use either standard content server table key lookups and leveraging that functionality, but there's many different ways you can achieve the same result and much better using beautiful web forms. So definitely yes. We do have APIs for managing the split and merge of PDFs and to do other crazy stuff with PDFs. As mentioned by Paolo, we have 18 extension packages that were already available with Model Suite version 2.3 that cover basically everything you can do with content server UI, content server APIs, plus a set of announcements already with Office document manipulation, PDF manipulation, integration with other systems, working with web services, etc. And we are now other 4 extension packages, and more will be delivered. So one of the extension packages that I didn't see in the Paolo presentation was the zip extension packages. Yeah, there was it. That allows also to manage, for example, compress archive directly from within content server. So you can basically ask, for example, to uncompress an archive within a content server folder, and that will recreate the structure of the archive directly in content server, or vice versa, compress an entire structure of content server to create a new archive. And custom table maintenance, I guess you are referring to the possibility of creating forms that are managing SQL table on your system, and the answer also for that is yes, definitely, and quite easily.
Then we have, is Constant Script able to consume CMIS services?
Yeah, CMS services are basically REST APIs, and we have the possibility and a service that allows you to consume any kind of REST API, even content server REST API. So you can, from a content script, you can even decide to consume the REST API of another content server instance, for example.
And there's one other question, but this actually came on the panelist chat. So if Module Suite is updated to 2.4 on a content server 10.5 instance, will they still experience the performance improvements of 30% or over?
Yeah, you should have the same results also on 10.5. So what we have done is basically to improve the way you can work with scripts and the way the forms are rendered. So the rendering of forms was already quite fast. We improved it significantly, and the way you can work with scripts was already quite good, but we also improved it. And the main reason is because we've seen customers creating more and more application, and all the time more complex from the previous one. So they want to do more and more complex things, etc. And so we want to be able to provide a way for creating very complex application on top of content server if needed. And that's the main reason why we focus on performances on this. There are other functionality that we didn't mention. So if you are used to work with Module Suite, one of the great things, for example, the new APIs allows you to do is to cache directly CS nodes, so you can avoid hitting the database so frequently for loading information from nodes. There's a way for defining scripts that are automatically loaded without having to run them in order to load them and to include in your scripts. So there is a lot of different new features that allows you to really boost the performances of your existing application. But out of the box, you can just experience just installing Module Suite 2.4 and upgrading. You should experience quite an improvement in performances.
Okay, and another question just came in. How far did we go with the responsive design? Does it work on laptop or tablets?
Well, the beautiful web forms are responsive out of the box. So when integrated with the Smart UI, so the limit of the responsiveness of the layout is the one of the Smart UI. So basically, you can work very well with tablets. Smaller devices requires you to leverage the content server mobile application, in which forms can be displayed. And the good thing is that you can easily design forms that can be specifically meant to be utilized with such small devices. You can detect that the device is asking for that resource and automatically switch the view in order to serve the best form possible. So already seen that working with the content server mobile application, you can create quite outstanding results with combining it with beautiful web forms.